Have you ever wondered why certain behaviors turn into addictions? It's a question that rattles around in the minds of many. Today, we're peeling back the layers on a particular addiction that often lurks in the shadows: porn addiction. It's crucial to understand its root causes, not for blame, but for healing and growth. We're going to shine a light on some of the less explored corners of this issue, so buckle up. Let's delve into the less talked about root causes of porn addiction. Ever heard of the pleasure principle? Well, it's not just a Janet Jackson song. Let's dive right in. The pleasure principle is a theory proposed by Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. It's the instinctual seeking of pleasure and avoidance of pain to satisfy biological and psychological needs. Now, how does this tie into addiction? You see, the brain loves rewards. It's hardwired to seek out things that make us feel good. When we find something that does so, like pornography, for instance, we tend to return to it again and again. However, this can lead to a vicious cycle. The brain begins to crave these temporary highs, leading to the pursuit of instant gratification. Over time, this can develop into an addiction, with the individual seeking out the source of pleasure despite harmful consequences. So, the pleasure principle plays an integral part in fostering addictions. Escapism, the superhero of stress relief, right? But what happens when the superhero turns villainous? Let's unravel this together. We all know life can be a bit of a rough and tumble at times, and in response, we humans have developed a multitude of ways to cope. Escapism is one such tactic, offering a temporary reprieve from the pressures of reality. It's like taking a hot air balloon ride, soaring away from the chaos below. But here's the catch. What if the balloon starts to drift too far and too fast? That's when escapism becomes a problem. In the realm of porn addiction, it's the equivalent of using adult content as a stress ball, squeezing it tighter and tighter until it's the only thing you can focus on. Escapism is a double-edged sword. When controlled, it can bring much-needed relief. But when it spirals out of control, it can lead us down a path of dependency. So remember, escapism, if unchecked, can lead to a vicious cycle of addiction. Boredom, the mother of all bad habits, isn't it? When we're bored, we seek stimulation, something to break the monotony. And that's where the trouble begins. We might turn to something seemingly harmless, like watching a bit of adult content. Yet before we know it, it becomes a go-to habit, a boredom buster that soon spirals into addiction. So next time you're bored, remember to choose your distractions wisely. Boredom, it seems, can be quite a dangerous state to be in. Peer pressure isn't just about trying cigarettes in high school, is it? Now let's talk about how social influence can shape our habits. Imagine you're in a group where everyone seems to be indulging in something you're not familiar with. You might feel out of place, right? So you join in, not wanting to be the odd one out. That's how social influence works. It nudges us, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly, to conform to the norms of our group. This desire to fit in can lead us into engaging in activities that may not be healthy for us. For instance, regular exposure to pornography can start off as a social bonding activity, but over time it can turn into a compulsive habit. So it's crucial to be aware of the influences around us and make mindful choices. The influence of our social circle can sometimes lead us down paths we never intended to tread. Did you know your childhood experiences could be influencing your adult habits? Quite a thought, isn't it? As we journey back to our younger years, we may find that early exposure to explicit content can have a profound impact on our understanding and perception of it. Picture this, a curious young mind stumbling upon material meant for mature eyes. This inadvertent encounter may normalize the concept of explicit content, embedding it into the subconscious as an acceptable adult preoccupation. As time rolls on, this normalization can potentially morph into an unhealthy dependency, a crutch we lean on to navigate the labyrinth of adulthood. It's a subtle process, almost invisible until we find ourselves caught in the addictive web. And that's the thing about childhood exposure. It's not always about immediate effects, but the long-term implications. Our past experiences indeed cast long shadows on our present. Ever tried to fill an emotional void with a physical activity? It's a common enough experience. You're feeling lonely or unfulfilled, or perhaps you're grappling with feelings of inadequacy. So you turn to something that provides immediate gratification, A temporary distraction from the gnawing emptiness within? It could be anything. A pint of ice cream, a shopping spree, or in many cases, pornography. The satisfaction derived from these activities is fleeting, and once the initial rush wears off, the void remains, often deeper than before. This can lead to a vicious cycle where you seek out these activities more and more in a futile attempt to fill the void. Over time, this pattern of behavior can morph into an addiction. Filling emotional voids with potentially addictive behaviors is like trying to fill a bottomless pit. It's a temporary fix that only serves to exacerbate the problem in the long run. Ever found yourself expecting too much from reality? Let's dive into the 8th root cause of porn addiction: unrealistic expectations. It's like expecting to find a golden goose in your backyard because you read about it in a fairy tale. Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's what happens when porn starts shaping our expectations. From relationships and sex, we begin to fantasize about scenarios that are as likely as finding unicorns in the supermarket. These exaggerated expectations can lead to dissatisfaction, frustration, and in turn, further reliance on porn to fill that gap between reality and fantasy. It's a vicious cycle, like chasing a mirage in the desert. Imagine expecting a pizza to taste like caviar because you saw it in a movie. Disappointment is inevitable. Similarly, when porn becomes the yardstick for real-life intimacy, it's bound to lead to disillusionment. Unrealistic expectations can make us prisoners of our own mind. It's time we break free and embrace reality for the beautiful mess that it is. Ever felt like your brain was hijacked by your habits? In our journey to understand the root causes of porn addiction, we arrive at a rather unsettling destination: brain hijacking. This concept may sound a bit sci-fi, but it's all too real. It's like your brain has been infiltrated by a rogue agent, compelling you to act against your better judgment. Addictions, be it to substances or behaviors, have the power to rewire our brains. They create well-trodden paths that our thoughts can't help but follow, like a river carving its way through the landscape. This is due to the brain's inherent plasticity, its ability to change and adapt based on experiences. When addiction takes hold, it's like a train darting down the track at full speed. The brakes, well, they're pretty much non-existent. It's a monumental task to switch tracks, to break free from this cycle. But understanding this is the first step towards reclaiming control. Our brain, it seems, can sometimes be our own worst enemy. How much does our culture influence our behaviors, you think? It's a question that's not often asked, but it's crucial in understanding the root causes of porn addiction. Our culture, with its unspoken norms and stigmas, can play a significant role in both masking and perpetuating addictions. Let's think about it. Our society often encourages silence around issues of sexual nature, doesn't it? This silence can lead to shame, and that shame can drive people further into their addictions as they find it difficult to seek help. Moreover, cultural norms can contribute to unrealistic expectations about sex, fostering a misguided understanding that can fuel an addiction. And then there's the stigma, the fear of being ostracized if one opens up about their struggles. This fear can compel individuals to hide their addictions, perpetuating a vicious cycle. In essence, our culture, with its silence, stigmas, and norms, can sometimes unknowingly foster addictions. Ever used a coping mechanism that ended up causing more harm than good? Well, let's delve into that. You see, coping mechanisms are like a soothing balm, providing temporary relief from emotional discomfort. But what happens when that balm becomes an addiction? Take, for instance, a cup of hot cocoa on a winter's night. It's warming, comforting, and just the right amount of sweet. But imagine if you started having 10 cups a day, every day. Suddenly, that comforting cup of cocoa has morphed into an unhealthy obsession, leaving you jittery, sleep-deprived, and with a serious case of sugar overload. That's what happens when coping mechanisms go awry. They morph from a source of comfort to a source of torment, like a teddy bear that's turned into a grizzly. Unchecked, they can lead to addictions, including porn addiction. It's crucial to recognize and regulate these coping mechanisms before they escalate. Coping mechanisms, it seems, can be a double-edged sword. Enjoying the video so far? Great, your support matters to us. So why not take a moment to click on the subscribe button? And if you're finding this content helpful, let us know by smashing that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons if you're finding this content useful. Ready to rewrite the narrative of your life? It's time we shed some light on the importance of understanding and addressing the root causes of addiction. You see, overcoming addiction isn't just about resisting temptation, it's about getting to the heart of why the addiction began in the first place. Let's take a step back and consider a book. A book is simply a collection of chapters, each one contributing to the overall narrative. Similarly, our lives are a series of chapters, with our habits, actions, and decisions shaping our story. When we uncover the root causes of addiction, we're essentially flipping back to the chapters of our lives that have led us to where we are now. By understanding these chapters, we can start to rewrite our narrative. This involves recognizing patterns, identifying triggers, and building healthier coping mechanisms. It's about shifting from a reactive mindset to a proactive one, from being a victim of our circumstances to becoming the author of our own lives. Rewriting the narrative starts with understanding the root causes. So, what's the takeaway from all this? The root causes of porn addiction are complex and multifaceted, ranging from the basic pleasure principle to societal influences and coping mechanisms gone rogue. It's crucial to acknowledge and address these underlying issues, rather than just focusing on the symptoms. By doing so, we pave the way for healthier coping strategies and more realistic expectations. Remember, the path to overcoming starts from understanding. Remember, understanding is the first step to overcoming. That's all for today, folks. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to feed the like button and subscribe for more. Exciting news! Our next video will pull back the curtain on coping mechanisms. Stay tuned for more informative and engaging content. Until then, stay curious and keep learning.
Savored this video? Fancy another? Click the on-screen video for an even deeper dive into fresh territory. Your support is like a warm cuppa on a brisk day. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, ring that bell for the latest content. Cheers for watching.